Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Jill.
Frank Carini.
Here.
Mark Verhalen.
Here.
Kelly Gannier. Here. Mike Dudzik.
Here.
Cheryl Stuniglia.
Here.
Meredith Whitman. Here. Jerry Christ.
Here. Good evening, everyone. Apologize for the 8-minute delay. Well, on our January 27th meeting, right to the agenda items. Number 4, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Stuniglia will move to approve the agenda for January 27th.
That's 6 seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion has passed for the approval of the agenda. Announcements, Dan?
So just a couple quick announcements, and I'll be handing it off to Frank. First of all, we want to congratulate Cheryl on her 20 years, a commendation that she received from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards last Thursday. So congratulations, Cheryl, on that award.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to lead into is Frank has an announcement that he's going to share with us in just a moment here. But I would also like to publicly thank Frank for his work and what he's about to say and share with the public here. And it's going to make a big difference in terms of what we're going to be doing with our pool project. So I'm going to turn things over to Frank and just want to publicly thank him.
Yeah, thank you. So a little over a year and a half working on this. I know I said something in the last year about this, but I just want to announce that the Foundation of We Energies is giving us a wonderful donation for our pool project in the sum of $750,000. It's a 3-year agreement. So I just wanted to thank several people, obviously, in the community. But they will not put, they don't want to worry about like naming rights, but they do want to paint a mural inside the pool. So it's very exciting. It's a company within Oak Creek, but this foundation has obviously stepped up and beyond, and I couldn't thank them more for, it's great to, because I know public is always on these big, for referendum or any other big acquisitions. The public is always asking if we can reach out to, if it's a large company or someone, see if we can get naming rights. Well, this is a great example and definition of that. And so I just wanted to thank the foundation, and I'm really excited about this for what they're doing for the pool. So, any questions they can ask, board members?
Did you reach out to them, or did they come to us?
I reached out to them.
Nice. Thank you.
Yep. Other questions? Good. Thank you. Public input. Recess formal portion of the meetings to entertain comments or questions on the agenda items. Finally, it's changed. Now we have a green form, which is on the wall. You can kindly fill that in and hand it in. Just want to be very clear. Concerns about individual students or personnel issues are not appropriate in a public meeting and should be addressed to an appropriate administrator for resolutions. Comments deemed to be personal attacks against other people or persons, whether they're present in the meeting or not, are not appropriate and be ruled out of order. We wish to be a model for our youth and community, sharing ideas about issues with kindness and civility. So, I got so far a couple here. And the first one is Brianna. You want to quote that you do have 3 minutes. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll raise my hand, and then that gives you 30 seconds to finish. Thanks, Brianna.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brianna Allen Kaiser, and I am honored to be here tonight. I also brought with me my amazing husband back there. We've been proud members of this community for nearly 10 years. I'm a nurse at a community hospital and a proud mother of a current student at Oak Creek East Middle School. Go Cougars. I'm also a candidate on the ballot for the primary election on February 18th to become a member of the school board. I'm deeply passionate, about education and committed to the well-being of our students, families, educators, and the community. This past Saturday, I had the privilege of speaking with the school board president, Frank. We discussed the importance of fostering a positivity when addressing challenges and ensuring that we approach one another with mutual respect and positive intent. I want to thank him and the other board members that I've had the opportunity to speak with for their dedication and their insights. Looking ahead, I'm excited to partner with the school board to drive meaningful and positive change. This includes advocating for increased state funding to provide our educators with resources they need to support student success, as well enhancing support for our special education department, and creating a parent advisory committee to collaboratively navigate student-related issues. I believe these initiatives will foster a stronger and safer environment built on trust, respect, and support for everyone in our school community. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak and address you tonight. I look forward to working together to develop solutions and achieve positive outcomes for our school and community, no matter the outcome of the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Hibbler?
Just have two inquiries, Mr. President, if you will allow the superintendent or a member of his cabinet to answer these questions. The first one is, many of the parents noticed that the district data on racially insensitive language and acts was not on today's agenda. It's been on every second agenda of the month for the last several months. So if someone could explain to us what the cadence will be moving forward. And number two, the district sent out a notice to save the date for a district parent advisory group. Only one person in the parent advocacy committee that I'm a part of received the invite. So other parents would like to know, how were people selected to be invited to this February 27th event? And if others will still be able to attend as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill McIntosh?
Good evening. My name is Bill McIntosh. I'm also a candidate for the school board. I didn't know that we could come up here and say that, but I guess that's good. I've also worked and talked with many of you on the board over the last year or so, and had a lot of discussions, and hopefully those discussions will bear fruit if I'm elected and we can keep going forward as a community. But tonight I wanted to talk about agenda item number 15, the motion to convene in closed session regarding the purpose of an annual evaluation of the superintendent and considering the terms of a contract offered to the superintendent. About a couple of months back, board member Dudzik had mentioned that he's been through about three of these evaluations in the past, and that they were basically get up and tell everybody how great we're doing, and then sit down and there's no value to it. However, I hope that this time you consider a little bit more accountability towards our superintendent and what's going on in our district. We talk about giving out contracts and raises to employees, but the teachers got 0% and it was unanimous over here about 3 months ago. So I think that should only hold for the superintendent as well, because obviously we've got 5 schools who are not performing very well. That's 50% of our schools. 50% of our schools are down year over year, and they just barely meet expectations in 50% of the schools. And when we look at one of the schools, Deerfield is one of the worst performing schools, and it's at 61.5. Carrollton's at 67.1. Down 2 years in a row. We have Carrollton's down 3 years in a row. Deerfield's down 3 years in a row. Meadowview's down 2 years in a row. Shepherd Hills is up, but it's down 2 years in a row. The Oak Creek High School is down 3 years in a row. there should be some accountability here. This shouldn't be, let's just go into a meeting, tell everybody we're doing great and sit down. There's got to be accountability. I think we should be looking forward to getting our schools to the highest, significantly exceed expectations as we can. And we should be doing that in short order. It's been 30 years that I've been here, and one school in Oak Creek has been up to that level of significantly exceeding expectations, and that's West Middle School. We compare ourselves all the time to South Milwaukee, Cudahy, and some of those schools aren't even, they're failing to meet. How are we comparing ourselves with them? And you put ourselves out there just back in November with those schools. So I hope that there's a little bit more accountability here going forward. Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the board? Okay. Reconvening to action items. I need a motion to, for personnel.
Whitman makes a motion to approve the personnel.
Chris will second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. I just want to thank, I just want to admit that the motion for personnel was approved. I need a motion for approval of open enrollment limits for 2025 and 26. There's two motions, so.
Chris will move to adopt the following regular education open enrollment space limitations for the 2025-2026 school year. 4K 11 seats, 5K 77 seats, first grade 77 seats, second grade 28 seats, third grade 40 seats, fourth grade 0 seats, fifth grade 21 seats, sixth grade 6 seats, seventh grade 28 seats, eighth grade 19 seats, ninth grade 7 seats, and grades 10, 11, and 12, 0 seats.
We have a second.
Fezzik seconds.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Just to state, the approval of the open enrollment limits for 25-26 school year has been approved. Now we need
We got part B.
Part B.
Yep.
Yeah, next page.
I know. Thank you. So the chair would like to restate the suggestion on the adoption of following the special education program for open enrollment limitation for 25-26 with 0 seats. I need a motion.
Chris will move to adopt the following special education program open enrollment spaces. Limitation for the 2025-26 school year to 0 seats.
Whitman seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. So the adoption has been approved for the special education program for open enrollment to be at 0 seats. Approval of the new aides position. I need a motion.
Neglia moves to approve creating 4 new 5.5-hour aide positions and 1 5.75-hour aide position.
Fezzik seconds.
Discussion?
I was just curious if somebody, I had asked this ahead of time, but for the public knows, when these positions occurred and, or what, did these positions start at the beginning of the year? Was it the beginning, or was it during the year?
Sorry.
Of the 5 new, let's see, of the 6 new students, I believe 5 of them came once the year had already started. 1 was here, new to the district at the beginning, was not identified as special education until just recently.
Thank you.
Other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. So the motion to approve creating 4 new 5.5 new aides position and 1 5.75 aide position has been approved. Informational item, extended school year rates of pay.
So I'm going to invite, I know Troy is on this situation report as well, but I'm going to invite Monica to come up. I think there's a little bit of confusion in terms of what we were looking at. So Monica's here to kind of clear up some of that confusion based on some of the feedback and emails that we did receive from some board members as well as some parents. So I'm going to turn things over to Monica.
Thank you. So this situation report really does not have anything to do with summer school. It's titled Extended School Year Situation Report because it was meant to identify that the changes we're looking to make are outside of the contracted hours for the teachers this year, right? So this situation report addresses two of the kind of three big pillars that of work that take place over the summer to serve our students with disabilities. The first of those pillars is that the district is required by federal law to complete special education evaluations throughout the summer. And so in order to do that, we need to have the staff that are willing to work in the summer to complete that work. And what has happened in a lot of area districts is that staffing for these summer evaluations is really challenging. And so this proposal would allow for a very clear rate of pay for our staff that may be interested in working those summer evaluations. And then it would also provide just a flat rate where if you were looking at the per diem rate for staff, our younger staff, staff that maybe haven't been in the district as long, their per diem rate might be significantly less than this. So this would be an encouragement or a benefit for them. For our staff that are well established in our district, Troy did some work to look at what would be a very fair rate, and that's where we came up with the 47 and the 57 hours, dollars per hour for that work. I know there were some questions around the evaluations and why we anticipate less evaluations this summer than we had in past summers. So there's a couple factors. Last summer, we had an atypical number of birth to 3 referrals. So Birth to 3 is an organization, community organization. Districts have to process those evaluations for our incoming 3-year-olds, and we have to offer placement by the time their third birthday hits, right? Last year, we had a lot of members of our community that came out of that Birth to 3 referral process. We will know here in the next few months the number of referrals that we should have. There's a portal, we can see how many incoming 3-year-olds that we'll have. And we anticipate that to be less. Again, it could be higher, but it's anticipated it'll be less. Last summer, we also had an atypical number of evaluations, school age evaluations, kindergarten through 18-year-olds. So one thing that we learned was that in prior years, we would receive evaluations maybe in the month of May, and there'd be some discussion around whether or not it was beneficial to having a summer evaluation team look at that. And so our team is preparing staff for the understanding that if we receive a special education evaluation later in the school year, we will do our best to complete it during the school year. That benefits the students in a lot of ways. It gives the staff the opportunity to see the students in their classrooms and utilize real-time data versus doing that work over the summer. They may not be able to actually see the student in action. So that's another reason why we anticipate less. Another reason is that our school psychologists have 5 days built into their contract. And our school psychologists do a lot of the evaluation paperwork. And so we are in discussions with them about how we can use those 5 days differently to really target those special education summer evaluations. So that's the anticipation for summer evaluations. Then there's also the pillar of extended school year, ESY services. ESY services must be provided to a child with a disability if their IEP team determines they require those services to receive FAPE. They're not state regulations on ESY, but there are federal guidance. There's federal guidance and court guidance on ESY. And so it is in the district's best interest to abide by those guidelines. ESY services are those special education services that are provided through a child's IEP. They're very targeted, they're specially designed instruction. And so these pay rates reflect the intentional work our staff members do on behalf of students with disabilities. And thus, that's why Troy and I work to increase those pay rates to, again, encourage our staff to volunteer to do the paid summer work. This situation report is really around how do we staff the summer evaluations and how do we staff extended school year and provide adequate pay to our staff to encourage them to want to do that work. Does that answer some of the questions, concerns?
Is there any other questions board members may have with regards to that? Yeah, go ahead.
Still gonna ask you,
Please.
we're still gonna have summer school.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to
make sure.
provide, yes,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely. We have to provide access to our students with disabilities for summer school. There will still be classes that are appropriate for some of our most significant learners. There will also be support provided in our enrichment classes for all students to access them and participate in them. I think we have an incredible enrichment program, and I really want to champion that our students with disabilities not only deserve access, but they need to be included in those classes. So yes, there will be summer school.
And are you still correlating with the special ed committee that was developed? Okay.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. Yes, that will be something on our agendas. We're working to kind of revamp that special education parent advisory group, and that will absolutely be something that we seek their feedback on.
Two more comments. I just, please keep us apprised of what's going on, because obviously if you need things, I mean, we as a board, I know damn well obviously too, but if there's things that we need or the community, the committee needs, we just want to be informed. I know, thanks Kelly, I know you're on that and so on. And so whatever you need, Kelly, just let us know too. And so, and then secondly, just had a wonderful time at high school on that Sunday where we played basketball and went swimming, and it was a great time to see those kids. So
Yeah,
it's great to see that. And I also want to thank you and actually Coach Scott Holler and other people that were involved with that. So
yeah, our work of the Unified Champion Schools came directly out of our parent advisory group and recommendations, and I think it's incredible work that's impacting our students with disabilities and our general education students.
Monica, correct me if I'm wrong, you will be coming back to the board to kind of give an update on the work that we've been doing around special education, I think February 24th, or is it early March?
So
No, it's
February,
March.
March 10th
March
will be our
10th,
next
yep.
presentation to the board on the work that we've done related to the special education audit, thus this school year. February 27th is the special education parent support group meeting where Dr. Andre Bennett and I, Mr. Andre Bennett, sorry, Mr. Andre Bennett and I are presenting to our families of students with disabilities.
awesome.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, appreciate it. Anybody have any questions? We're good. First reading of the Board of Education Policy Updates, Section 500, Personnel.
So I will have Troy come up and talk a little bit about this. One of the things we've been working on as a senior leaders team is taking a look to update our board policies and all the different series in that. So Troy has been hard at it with a number of the ones in Section 500. So I would like to invite Troy to come up just to talk a little bit about that.
Here's what I'll say about Section 500. I went through all of them. There's nothing that's an earth-shattering change or anything that's going to impact the way that we do business. Just merely updating. I think some of them were very old, but when you read them, you see the strike-throughs. They're all in there. So if you asked me what's the most significant, I'd probably say we added a new policy, the 521-1. Kind of identifying staff communications and lines of responsibility. So it really talks a little bit about who's a person's supervisor within the district, where should the person go to report issues. talks about how professional communications from staff should look because they represent the district, talks about staff interactions with the school board and employee free speech. So we tried to cover that. We did have an issue with employee free speech this year, so this now outlines very clearly that our employees do have a right to free speech, just like every other person. We do have a right to say something may be out of bounds if they say something that's out of bounds, but they still have a right to free speech. Did you have any questions on any of the changes? I know it was a lot, but there's a number of documents, but there's not a lot of change.
There's a lot, and thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work. I haven't been able to get through all of them yet, because I just got the packet on Friday, but, so I've got a couple of questions, but I'm gonna save them, they're minor stuff. But thank you for your time and effort on this. I know it's not easy to get all these things in on top of everything else that the district has to do.
And we'll be coming back with a second reading on the February 10th Board of Education meeting.
So there's plenty of time. If you have questions, you can email them.
Right.
All right, budget planning calendar for 25-26.
All right, so there's a lot of information in your packet about this budget calendar, because we have a state budget right now that is completely unknown. So they actually, one of your attachments includes the members of Joint Finance. Joint Finance is a very powerful committee, of which our Representative Rodriguez is on that committee, and she's been on it for several years. Actually, she might be a veteran now. So the big pieces with the state budget. So as at a future meeting, we'll go through budget assumptions. Budget assumptions are, looking at your expenditures, your revenues. We know expenditures are going to go up. It's dependent upon, what do we end up budgeting for the individual areas. For the last 3 years that I've been here, we've always given teachers an increase in pay ongoing. So I've never seen a zero here. Just want to state that. So those increases that we have that we will build into the assumptions, obviously on the expense side, you're going to need something on the revenue side to balance it out. So that's the work that the state's going to do in Joint Finance Committee, and then ultimately the governor in signing the budget. So that's where really what I wanted to give you guys tonight is a roadmap of, if you're going to talk to legislators, who do you talk to? And you can talk to ones outside of the ones that I have listed in here, but mainly those are the ones that are going to have the most power because they're going to be at the table. And what are you going to talk about? What are you going to ask for? So for Oak Creek Franklin, the number one thing is that low revenue ceiling. We know we're near the bottom. We're virtually tied. You can see us versus the other districts in the area. Last budget, that got moved up to $11,000. And then there was a $325 increase for 24-25. So really $11,325 is the dead bottom. And the only reason we're a little elevated above that by, very little bit above is because of transfers of service. Because things like tonight, those are things that are going to base build your revenue limit because you're taking on these new students that are moving in, and we don't have these positions on a whim waiting and just sitting in the schools. We have to go out and recruit them and then find a funding source, which is the transfer service. So what we would like to see is that low revenue ceiling go up by the same amount as it did last biennium, which would be $1,000 in the first year. So that would be $12,325, and then by another $325 the following year. So that's the second year of the biennium. The second thing that is extremely important is special ed funding. We've seen special ed costs go up significantly, especially since the pandemic. And the rate of reimbursement for special ed has gone down. So the allocations went up a little bit, but because the system has so many special ed need expenditures, they're prorating the flat dollar amount that the state applies to special ed. And what in state law, it says that it should be 33 1/3, I believe, and it's prorated down to 29% for this year. So we're seeing that, and what we need to do is promote a 60% reimbursement. So right now, Law says they should be at 33 1/3. They're at 29 in actuality, and that's because their appropriation is called sum certain. So that means that the state puts that much money aside, and then that's it. And then all the expenditures that are eligible for reimbursement, they prorate. And that's how you end up at around 29% instead of 33 1/3. So we would want to advocate for two things around special ed funding. Number one, that it goes up to 60%. Number two is that it's sum sufficient. Sum sufficient merely means that the funds that are needed to guarantee 60 will be made available. So those are the real two big asks that we would have in this next state budget. Other districts, it depends, quite frankly, if you look at that chart on page 1, Brown Deer is probably not going to care about the low revenue ceiling because they're well above it. So they're not going to carry that water. So we're going to be we're going to have more districts than we had in the past because of the increase in the last biennium, but we're going to have to push hard to try to. I think it resonates very well with both sides of the aisle because it makes sense. Why would you have less money going to some districts and more to others? And the answer is because that's how it was in 92, 93, which doesn't really hold water to why it's like that in 24, 25. With regards to the actual budget calendar that's attached there, you can kind of see I filled it out a little bit more. I added some reports that are due just so you can see kind of the reports that get done at the business office level throughout the year, and then added the board action and board meeting dates and what's going on with regards to the budget. We actually have Dan, Superintendent Thielen, has brought together a little committee to talk about the budget assumptions so that we're prepared when we come to the board and kind of talk through what the pros and cons are as far as how we approach the next biennium, because we won't have a state budget by July 1st. I wouldn't doubt that it'll be late July that we'll get it, maybe even August. So we're going to have to make some hard decisions on what assumptions do we want to make, and if we make those assumptions, then what decisions do we have to make because of that. So we'll talk about that all at a future meeting.
With the special ed, there really seems to be, I sit on the SWASA committee, and there really seems to be buy-in from both sides for reimbursement on special ed. That does seem to be the one thing that both sides seem to agree on. And so that's why they feel that that was one area that they can push pretty hard for. So if you can send a letter, an email, or whatever to those representatives that Blaze has listed here, that can make an impact. And it doesn't just have to be the members of the board. It can be the people in the audience. Contact your legislators. They want to hear from you. And the more people that contact them and talk to them about these specific things, it makes a difference.
That's it.
Thanks, Blaze.
I'll just talk about this.
Budget report. So this is where, I think at the last meeting we were about even when it came to salary and benefits year over year, and we're not going to be there again until June because it's just the payroll cadence is out of sync. So we're going to look like we're underspent by more than we usually would, but it will all come to reality by the end of June. And right now, really the big thing is our revenues are coming in a little bit slower through December, but it's actually pretty typical because January is when we get our first tax payment for the year. So we're halfway through the year before we get our first tax payment, but that'll be coming in January. So that'll probably actually put our revenues above our expenditures at that time. So other than that, I mean, that was...
Why supplies are so high right now?
Supplies...
127. Over budget a little bit. I just didn't know if we're buying a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it could be. Supplies typically in Fund 27 will be grant driven. So it depends on what the
So
grant.
come back later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
All right, Dan, upcoming agendas?
So next week, Monday, we have a special school board work study starting at 5:30 at the high school. And it'll be an opportunity for school board members to tour the weight room and the pool area. at Oak Creek High School. You got an opportunity to currently see what the weight room looks like and kind of the vision for the new weight room once that pool area is closed down. So we will have some of our coaches there, as well as our AD Scott Holler, as well as Candace Mongan, our principal, that will be there. So we'll be meeting there 5:30 in the weight room around the back. I think it's door 18. Yep, door 18. So,
You
and
want to bring a swimsuit?
sure, we can do the triple Lindy, you know.
In. Let's
so,
go.
Yeah. Right. February 10th school board meeting, we'll be back here. Action items, we'll have the second reading, as we mentioned, with Troy and the 500 policies. Approval of the extended school year rates of pay, which was discussed tonight. Information items, so I know some of you will be excited about this. So this is a follow-up where we have some of our students, some of our female students, that are here to talk a little bit about their vision for the GEMS program. So in essence, girls involved in math, science, and engineering. So I look forward to that. We will also have another program spotlight with Forest Ridge report card growth and early literacy progress. And then semester 1 district data on racially insensitive language and acts. And then the February 24th school board meeting, we will have an action item resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $34,300,000 in general obligation bond pursuant to Wisconsin state statutes, section 67.121B. And then we will have more information items, program spotlights, which I know are always one of the favorites of the board. We will have our Carrollton Young authors here. Troy will be here with an HRA update. We have our board meeting scheduled for the 25-26 school year. January budget report, capital improvement projects for the 25-26 school year. And then we will also be bringing in an update on the natatorium design. So our friends from Nexus will be here, as well as some of the team from the district office that has been working very closely with them to give this board an update.
I know Meredith and I would like to give an update on what we saw and attended at the convention.
Yes.
I'd like to convene to a closed session per statute Wisconsin 19.851C to consideration employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over the government body that has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility for purpose of an annual evaluation of the superintendent and considering the terms contract to be offered to the superintendent. I need a motion?
Chris will make a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C.
Braylon seconds.
Discussion? Roll call. Meredith? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Frank is yes. All right, thank you. All right, good evening. I need a motion to return to open session.
So Niglia moves to return to open session.
Chris will second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. That was approval of the return to open session.
Board Member Grenier makes a motion to approve a 2-year administrator contract for Daniel Phelan.
Niglia seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. That motion is approved for Dan. Congratulations. Thank you. Yep. I need a motion to adjourn.
Chris will make a motion to adjourn.
So Niglia seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.